something no one ever witnessed.
Now you can scream.
I'm doing some research on the book from my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. Actually, I was hoping to get some perspective from you. It seems your family was connected to ours many years ago.
Come on, Pa. Quit screwing around and help us find the graveyard.
Did you just get in the car?
Hey, calm down. There's nothing out there.
Mr. Jackal, Mr. Jackal.
You look like you saw a ghost.
I had a scary dream.
All dreams try to tell us things, even bad ones. Right now, your father tells me your favorite television show is on. Would you like to go watch?
I guess so. Mr. Jackal, Mr. Jackal.
Sarah and Robbie saw dead bodies and a monster all over the neighborhood. It's Halloween.
Hi, this is Hazel Tanksy from Voodoo Massacre, and you are listening to the Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. And what better intro could we have than Hazel for the masterpiece Jacko from 1995? And I can promise you, if I can promise you one thing, it will be that this is going to be a shit pickle of an episode. Not because we have a very special guest, and as we have Amanda Reyes from Made for TV Mayhem podcast with us, which is always a joy, and we're very excited to have Amanda with us. And I will talk to Amanda in a second. But the slight problem we have is this is Joseph's pick. Jacko's one of the Alashan picks, but the slight problem is we don't have any Joseph, and so we don't know where Joseph is. We think he may have just overslept.
A young man, his whole life in front of him, disappears. A familiar story, yes, but this is no ordinary Joe. Joseph, perhaps the most loved figure in the country, vanished. According to Mrs. Elsie Melcher, a neighbor who asked not to be identified, Joe left his house 2 weeks ago. According to Angelique Bones, a nosy bitch who lives up the street, he took with him only a toothbrush, a wallet, a steamer trunk, and a plane ticket to Calcutta. Police theorize several possible scenarios of what happened to a man affectionately known to the world as Joseph.
Well, I don't know where the hell he is. For all I care, he could be hanging by his neck in his fucking closet.
Scenario number 1. He's hanging by his neck in his fucking closet. The night before his disappearance, Joseph's girlfriend had paid him a visit. According to friends, they had quarreled.
If you're looking for Joe, I suggest you look wherever you find the most heinous, blatant, and vile exploitation of children on the planet.
Scenario number 2. Joseph went to Disney World.
Cool. Now, hopefully Joseph will join us mid-episode. But as I said, it wouldn't be the first time we've had a shit pickle of an episode. And we'll make clear what the shit pickle is and what we're referring to a little bit later on. But Amanda, thank you for joining us. I bet this has been a lifetime, ambition of yours to record an episode on Jacko.
When I first saw Jacko, when it came out, I said to myself, I can't wait to do a podcast episode about this, because the word podcast didn't exist yet. But somewhere in my heart, I knew this was going to happen. It was sort of like a dream that I had, a premonition. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Well, that goes to show the power of Jacko and the supernatural shenanigans that goes on, that you had a premonition of doing a podcast in 1995. So, but always a pleasure, Amanda, and thank you for joining us. And hopefully, as I say, Joseph will join us at some point throughout, unless the pumpkin-headed man has got him or he's been making some toast.
There was rumours of a big storm heading Chattanooga way, so that could have wiped out Joseph's internet connection either. So
we don't know. We will be held in suspense, unlike we were for 90 minutes we were watching this movie. But Erik, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, considering I've watched Jacko twice this week.
Well, we don't want to give too much away about what we think about this film.
No, you might be surprised at my opinion anyway. So
okay, well, I imagine probably does like Jacko, but don't tell us yet, Nathan, as we will come on to that shortly. But how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm just shocked at the dangers that someone could face holding a butter knife near a toaster.
It's very dangerous.
Yes.
Could slip and have a nasty accident.
Yes, well, all will become clear a little bit later. Okay, well, let's have a chat about our recently seen, shall we, in time-honoured tradition. And Amanda, as you're our very special guest, anything you've been watching recently you'd like to chat about?
Yeah, actually, it seems like Austin has been silly with slasher films lately, and I've been able to see a bunch of movies on the big screen, and so I'll just go over a couple of them. Last Tuesday, the Alamo also screened in 35 millimeter Just Before Dawn. Yeah, it was one of the most incredible experiences. It's so good on the big screen. I can't believe I finally got to see it like in its full scope. And it's a great movie anyway, and it's aged really well, but it is really amazing on the big screen. I mean, everything about it works. And it was such an interesting audience because, the Alamo isn't supposed to talk anyway, and you get a really respectful crowd on Terror Tuesday, but it was really silent. Like, it felt to me like people were really into the film. There was just something in the atmosphere, and it was just amazing. Some of those scenes are just even scarier. Like, the scene where Jamie Rose is in the water and you see one of the killers get into the lake with her from the waterfall. Like, that was just amazing. It was amazing. And also the part where Greg Henry is looking for the keys towards the end of the film, and he's got the flashlight and he's kind of moving it around, and his dead friend, who's now been dressed up and has makeup on, is behind him, and he doesn't see him at first, and the flashlight goes by. That was very effective. It's just amazing. But of course, at the end, when the big climactic scene, a lot of people who hadn't seen the film, there was a huge reaction to that with the fist. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that exactly, because the movie plays itself very straight, and it's hard to know. Like, I don't think it's trying to be funny, but it's so shockingly strange when that happens that it kind of veers away from the rest of the tone of the film. But it's really amazing. It's so amazing. And the lead actress is so good in it. But anyway, so I saw that. And
that is one I would definitely love to see on the big screen, because it's even in its non-horror moments, it's such a glorious backdrop for a movie. I'd say it would look amazing on a cinema screen.
We could watch it on a double bill with Blood Lake.
They're very similar.
I might be outside getting popcorn while Blood Lake is on.
How dare you?
Wait, who is the little Tony is my question.
Nathan.
No, I mean in Just Before Dawn.
Oh, sorry. There is a prankstery character, isn't there? So he'd be...
Yeah, I guess Chris Lemon would be the little Tony, which is hard for me to fathom, but okay. So the third thing I saw was at the Austin Film Society. They showed, I guess it's a DCP. I think it was just a projection of the Blu-ray or of the whatever they did with the Blu-ray for the upcoming release of Next of Kin. That Australian movie. Yeah. That was so good. I hadn't seen that movie in quite a long time, and so I was really excited about it. And it's much better than I remembered it, and I remembered it was really good. So the thing, though, that was the revelation for me is that John Jarrett, when he was in his heyday, oh my God, guys, he was so beautiful. He's really sexy in this. He plays a character named Barney, which is great because that was my cat's name. And so anybody named Barney has a real soft spot, but he's so good in this. And it's just a really eerie, atmospheric film with moments that are so subtly creepy. And speaking of John Jarrett, the Alamo actually also played Picnic at Hanging Rock on 35 millimeter, and he's in that as well, looking amazing. But that's a really beautiful film that I also hadn't seen for a long time, and it's so much better now that I have more maturity underneath my belt, because the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't understand. I thought there was a serial killer. And and I was really upset about it. And the person I went with kind of explained the film to me, and I felt really stupid. But with that in mind, I went again and saw it. And I'd actually just read this really amazing book about eco-cinema, film theory and practice. And I was kind of applying some of the film theory that I learned about nature and how it divides class systems and things like that. It was really interesting. And then yesterday, for the first time in like 20 years, I sat down with Slumber Party Massacre 2. And I'm really sad that I haven't revisited this film again in all that time, because it was really amazing. Yes. It's so amazing. Yeah, it's just good. It's creepy and it's weird and it's silly but it all works. And I love the set pieces. I love the music. I don't know if I love the killer so much. I really just love the girls hanging out, but everybody is so likable that it was just really great. It's playing on Amazon Prime here in the States if anybody wants to catch up with it. I highly recommend it, but you guys have podcasted about most of these, so that's all I'll say about them.
Well, let me say, did you like Sally's song, What I Want Most Is a Pie in the Sky?
I did, and I really liked Sally. I really liked the girls, that they really liked each other, because there's this kind of... Well, first of all, I love the way it's shot, because it's shot by a woman, and so there's a lot of POV from the main character when she's dreaming about her hunky boyfriend, and it's all done in this way that a man would shoot a woman, and it's like this, oh, he's just so cute thing, and it's wonderful. But the interaction with the women is really good. So the girl who's the lead singer of the band, who's Juliet Cummings, you think at the beginning that maybe she's going to have her eyes on Crystal Bernard's boyfriend, but that never comes into play, because there's this reaction she has about him coming to visit at the condo, and you're like, don't make that film. And they don't. They make it like a really solid female friendship film, and the guys are really cool too, with the exception of the one kind of stoner guy, but they're all very supportive of each other, and there's a really nice rapport with everybody, and it's got a really nice energy. And I think maybe it's that bridge, because as we get into the late 80s, the characters in horror films became really antagonistic with each other, and it kind of stuck. And I think maybe this movie, and I'd have to look at the list of what came out in 88 or whatever, but of movies where people still really enjoyed their company, you know what I mean? And this movie really has that. So it's like, I think Erik is the one that says the mark of a good slasher movie is when you don't care about the slasher, when you just want to hang out with the people, and the slasher is just sort of the quirk and the perk of it. And this is a movie where when they start dying, I'm really upset, because I could have just hung out with those girls for like 2 more days. Like I could have spent that whole weekend with them in that condo, and I would have been so happy. Yeah, it's really good, and I'm really sad that I'm just now seeing it again for the first time.
I wish that film was more about the band than about a slasher movie as well. I mean, I think the band stuff is really good fun in it, and like yourself, I'm less interested in the rockabilly slasher dream stalker guy.
One thing that's good, though, is that at least they save, like, the cast. They just kind of get massacred in the last 10 minutes. Like, most of the movie, you are just hanging out with them.
True.
Yeah,
so,
it just really does a good job of making you like them. And it's interesting because they never explain the killer at all. Like even why he's in her dreams and how he gets manifested. He's just there. And it's so unfulfilled. It's almost like somebody wrote a slice of life movie about an all-girl band, and somebody said, let's make it a slasher. And so they're like, okay, Nightmare on Elm Street's really popular. Let's do that, you know? And it's almost like an afterthought.
See, I always thought that it was kind of her budding, like, sexuality with this boy that she liked combined with the band, and it manifested this, like, horror from her past with the drill, but good things that she's looking forward to, and, like, it's haunted by nightmares of her past. Or am I going too deep here?
No. I want to write that paper, Nate.
That film is just like Smelly Cat. So many levels.
Yes.
Well, now that you say that, you know what? I'm going to rewatch it and have that in mind. But I think you might be right. That's so good.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought, especially when you think about the way it ends. It's sort of just a huge nightmare.
Well, also, she's in bed with him. So the manifestation of the sexual longing is really interesting to me now that you say that. Yeah. I just love the way they filmed him because he's super cute, right? But like when she dreams of him, it's all from her point of view. And so the shots are kind of like, not fisheyed, but they're at weird angles that you might not necessarily have seen him if it was just a camera shot of him. Yeah. And so it's really like, so you are like crushing on him with her. Like I think Deborah Brock might be the director's name. I can't remember, but she does a really good job of placing you in Crystal Bernard's shoes. So you're watching the film through her eyes through a lot of it. And she does a really good job of situating the audience that way.
And, you know, if you notice, the killer doesn't manifest until she's ready to go all the way with her boyfriend, which is part of her sexuality. That's right. But she has that. I love that her sister's like, don't go all the way. And I wasn't sure if that meant something else and she was misinterpreting it. But I guess she wasn't. I guess her dream was basically like, don't do it. Yeah, don't have sex. A life lesson, guys.
Gosh, it's always very deep when that Hysteria continues. So, thank you, Amanda.
Anyway, that's what I've seen, and it was great. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Before we move on, Amanda, on the last episode we covered Psycho 2. So I needed to ask you, Robert Loggia, hottie or naughty?
I like old dudes, but like Robert Forster old dudes. So like, I don't know how to explain that aside from Robert Forster old dudes. Maybe that's guys with like dark. I like the dark hair. I don't mind gray hair, but I like the dark hair. I don't know if Robert Lowe showed what his natural hair color was because he was always like 65.
Okay, I'm alone then. I'm back to being alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love him very much, but I don't think I would like...
What about Dennis Franz?
No, I wouldn't sit on that either. Eric, I was thinking of you because there's a TV movie on Amazon Prime called Disaster on the Coastliner, and Willard from Pieces is in it, and he doesn't have a beard, so I don't know what you would think of him, but there's a really great scene where he's holding a kitten. And I think that might be like a poster you'd want in your bedroom.
That is a poster I want. It's like the man holding the baby, you know, a famous poster. It's called Disaster on a what?
Disaster on the Coastliner.
On the Coastliner. Okay.
It's really fun, yeah. But he's
on Amazon over here.
He's great in it.
Paul Smith, yes.
Yep, that's it.
Excellent. Well, Erik, what have you been watching the last week or so?
Okay. Actually, it's funny that I haven't watched this yet, but I did pick up the Blu-ray of Next of Kin. It's out on Blu-ray over here. A second site have released it with tons of extras. So I picked that up because I was also purchasing Arrow's new release of The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire, which I did watch this week. And this is the Ricardo Freda Giallo set in Dublin, which is kind of why I have an affinity for the film. I've only ever seen this in kind of 17th generation VHS copies. So, anytime I've ever watched it in the past, it's been really difficult to make out what's happening. And the audio has always been terrible as well. So this was a kind of a revelation to see it, restored as such. It's not an outstanding Giallo by any means. It's quite run of the mill. It's about a series of murders that are happening around Dublin, connected to the Swiss ambassador and his family. And there's a local cop played by Luigi Pistilli. And he's dubbed with a really, really typical and kind of racially offensive Irish accent. The kind you'd find in Darby O'Gill and The Little People. The kind of accent that nobody in Ireland actually speaks in. But he's playing the detective investigating this, and he finds his family are attracting the attentions of the killer also. And did anyone hear that pop in their head?
Yes. What was that?
That was quite loud. Anyway, it all plays out in standard Giallo style, and there's quite an inspired ending. And there's some kind of gruesome murders that are done with really, really bad special effects in the film where the killer is spraying some kind of acid in people's faces and you see it dissolve, but the effects are so phony that they kind of raise a chuckle rather than a grimace. But I do like the film, and as I said, I have particular affinity towards it because it's probably one of the very rare probably the only Giallo set in Dublin, but it's very rare that there are horror movies in general set in Dublin, so that's why I kind of like it. It's kind of nice to look back at what Dublin was like in 1971. And the Blu-ray is great and has tons of extras, so if you are interested at all, I highly recommend it.
I've seen I haven't seen the new Blu-ray yet, but I always think the special effects in it are quite special, as in
they are
not very good. I mean, it's kind of like a papier-mâché head being having acid thrown in the face.
Yes.
So I imagine in Blu-ray it must look very very
doesn't do it any
unconvincing.
favours.
No. So anyway, I hope you've got your butt plug back in, Erik. I presume that's what that pop was.
That pop wasn't me.
Where was it? Where's the pop coming from?
Oh, hang on. It might be. Hang on. I'm on a what? Message call. I'm on a message call, a text message call here to Virgin Media, who are my internet broadband provider, and they've just actually responded to my message I sent about an hour ago. So that's what the popping is, I think.
Okay, right.
Sorry,
likely story. Yeah. But have Amanda or Nathan, have you seen Iguana with the Tongue of Fire?
No.
Was there anything else, Erik?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Okay, right. Well, Nathan, how about you?
I finally caught up with the first Purge, that prequel that they made about the very first time that the Purge happens. I thought it was good. I mean, here's the thing. If you like the Purge movies, then you'll probably like this one. Honestly, it was probably my least favorite out of all the Purge movies, but I still enjoyed it. I mean, I like those movies for what they are. I mean, I don't necessarily rewatch them or find them as rewatchable as a Friday the 13th sequel, but I do like them, for at least a one-time watch. I think they're just kind of fun and, a bit ridiculous, but I enjoy them. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, and I don't say this as a negative, but it is just more of the same.
Did you watch any of the TV series?
I started the TV series, but we had like DirecTV, the app, and it just didn't work well for us, so we canceled it. So I haven't finished the TV series. I only got to watch like the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Oh, is it not on Netflix? I thought, no,
not over here. At least not that I've seen.
It might be on Netflix over here. We get things like on the Spanish Netflix. We get things like Hannibal and stuff, which aren't on the UK one. So I think it all depends on the rights.
Yeah,
but is it Spanish? Is it in Spanish?
Well, it's good Spanish options, but it's always in English default, and then you can sort of set it in Spanish language or subtitles.
You know what's cool, Justin? When you learn Spanish, you can go to the movies and see like any movie you want because you'll know what they're saying.
But exactly, I know. Well, we went to see Halloween, the new Halloween in Spanish, which I could understand bits and words and stuff like that, but it was it all got a bit complicated when there was a major plot twist. Which I won't say if you haven't seen it, but
that plot twist.
Yes, that stupid plot twist.
That plot twist.
Yes,
it's kind of a dumb one.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Nathan. Anything else?
Well, the only other thing I watched was Scary Movie Part 4, but I've seen it before several times. I just find it funny. I made Wes watch it last night.
I don't think I ever made it. I never watched any of those scary movies apart from the first one when I saw it at the cinema when I was so appalled by it. But I don't think I watched any of the others.
What are the major things they take the mick out of in Part 4?
Saw, War of the Worlds, and The Village.
Yeah, which the tripods are actually iPods, aren't they, or something?
Well, yeah, like that starts out that way, but then they become big bug-looking things.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you, Nathan. Just a couple of things that I've watched, or one thing I've been watching. It's only been a week since we recorded, so I haven't had a chance to watch a great deal. But I've started watching, talking of Netflix, Black Summer on Netflix, which is their new zombie kind of 8-parter. And I know I understand why lots of people are zombied out, and I can understand why. But actually, I found this quite good. I mean, I always like a good zombie movie, and I even started watching The Walking Dead again this last season because it actually got a lot better and it had Samantha Morton in it who's really good, and there's some creepy stuff in it. But my criticism, one of the big criticisms of The Walking Dead, I kind of guess, is that it became like the zombie version of The Good Life. Which, if you don't know The Good Life, which probably a lot of people listening to this won't, but it was a 1970s sitcom, a British sitcom about a couple who give up their city jobs and live off the land. So it's kind of just became the whole medieval thing with them travelling around and it becoming like a medieval knights type thing. And the zombies became a bit sort of sidelined, I kind of guess. But the last series kind of up the ante. But Black Summer is set something like 4 or 5 weeks after the zombie apocalypse starts. So society is still breaking down and there's mass evacuations, and it follows a small group of people. And the way they do it, which I think is quite diverting, quite sort of is different, is that it does it in little kind of portmanteau kind of type little anthology things. So there's like each bit is like 5 to 10 minutes long, and each section has a title like Dog or Escape, and it kind of quite cleverly sort of loops the action round. So when you see something happening in the background, it kind of will cut back to that, and you'll see how these characters interact with each other without actually realizing. So it's quite well done. It's got fast zombies, and so the thing I like about it is it presents itself in a kind of an anthology kind of way, that you have different characters all like sort of their stories all going on at the same time, and they kind of interact, and sometimes they don't realize that they're interacting because there's something happening in the background, which then will cut to what that was happening, and sort of shooting backwards and forwards on a timeline. So it's also got a bit of a nod because it's the fast running zombies that were started in Dawn of the Dead remake, and it's the kind of nod to that. I think at the beginning is it's got Jamie King, who was in the My Bloody Valentine remake, and she gets chased by her husband, becomes a zombie, very much like the Dawn of the Dead remake. So they kind of getting that comparison out straight away. But what it does do is it's more about suspense. So it's just kind of completely, it's the whole thing is more like a 45 minutes of suspense rather than horror necessarily. So yeah, it's I recommend from me if you get a chance to watch it. So I don't know if you have any of you guys seen it or had any intention?
Not yet. It only landed, I think, a few days ago, didn't it?
Yeah, that's Netflix. Right. We're only about halfway through the series.
I got a little burned out on zombies, but I mean, if you say it's good, then I'll be willing to check it out. I just kind of got a little tired, I guess, of zombies for a little while because I think they were very popular, and so there's a lot of stuff coming out zombie related.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So, okay, well,
Jacko.
The film concerns a legendary scythe-wielding, pumpkin-headed Halloween demon called Jacko, originally raised from the dead in the last century by evil wizard Walter Mackin. The demon returns in modern times to haunt young Sean Kelly, his clueless family, and babysitter Linnea Quigley. On come Hallows Eve, Jacko begins hacking and slashing his way through a blood-spattered, fear-stained stack of drunken college students, unwitting neighbours, terrified trick-or-treaters, motorcycle maniacs, and a witless cable TV installer played by the director himself. And that's on the back of the Retro Media 10th Anniversary Edition DVD, came out in 2004, and which features prominently on the back in big headlines before any other actors are listed. It says John Carradine, Linnea Quigley, Brink Stevens, and Cameron Mitchell. Now, Linnea Quigley I can kind of understand. The other three are in it for a microsecond in footage spliced in from other movies, so that's kind of a cheat. But I watched Jacko for the first time in my life this week. I didn't think it was quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. I kind of enjoyed parts of the movie. I think it has its moments. I thought it was quite well made considering it's done on a micro budget. But perhaps what its main flaw is for me is that it is sort of half decent, which means that it's kind of bland at times. You know, it needs that. It could do with some WTF moments like Boarding House or Pieces or other films that we love that are kind of low budget, you know, silly shit pickle fests that we love so much from that era. The premise reminds me a lot of Rawhead Rex. This is sort of ancient demon suppressed in the earth by some artifact that when it's moved, resurrects the sort of title character. I love the sort of two main female adult leads, Vivian and Linda, because although this film is made in the sort of mid-90s, they're channeling the hair of the girl with the big hair in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 who gets turned into a cockroach. They have her kind of hair. But then you get this group of teens who are probably friends of Justin's because they're wandering around in the middle of the night looking for a graveyard, which is probably something you used to do in the 90s, Justin, yeah?
Well, it was, yes, of course.
Yeah, in a big oversized check t-shirt with your sort of grungy Nirvana look. And they look very 90s. So it's a weird combo of fashions going on in this movie. And actually, that guy with the long hair who has the sort of Kurt Cobain look, he's the star. He's up front and center on the video cover on the Greek VHS release, which lists Cameron Mitchell as the star of the movie as well. Obviously, they're shoehorning these cameos in to sell the movie. It kind of reminded me of that Eddie Murphy film Bowfinger, where the major Hollywood star is unaware he's been filmed for a starring role in a movie. I really like Linnea Quigley in this film. I think she stands out a bit. Her character is actually really likable. The temptation, I suppose, to make her kind of preppy, not preppy, sorry, the opposite of that, kind of, what's the sort of the party girl who has no interest in babysitting, and as soon as the parents are gone, she's going to invite her boyfriend over and have sex. And that's not the way it pans out. I like the fact that she is comes across as kind of a party girl, but she's also responsible like Laurie Strode. So she's kind of cross between Laurie and Annie in Halloween. So I thought that was a nice change. I'd like to look at the killer as well. I think the special effect of the pumpkin head is quite good. I think it looks really cool, the glowing eyes. And I suppose it's creepy to a degree. And there's this, bits of gore in there. They're kind of hit and miss. There's a few slit throats and that. And there's a decapitation. So there's some decent moments in it. I wasn't totally, we were joking about falling asleep during this movie earlier, and I suppose I found it a bit bland at times. But overall, I was kind of surprised that it was, decent enough, but it's certainly not an essential movie for me. But Amanda, I mean, when you were invited on to discuss Jacko, I was under the assumption that this was because you love the movie so much, but maybe you don't. What are your thoughts?
Well, one of the Alishans, whoever requested it, requested me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was really nice, and so I feel really bad about what I'm about to say. So I thought about like doing some kind of film theory, because the last couple episodes I've been on, and I really love to do that. I haven't had a chance, so I thought, I could talk about intergenerational trauma, or I could talk about the unreliable narrator, but I just can't because this movie isn't worth it to me. And so what happened was I saw it when it first came out, and I'm pretty sure I saw like 20 minutes of it and I fell asleep. And so I was like, well, let's see. I missed a lot of this movie, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I only had one chance to watch it, and I had a really hard time getting through it. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's like you said, I was really impressed with the production quality of it. I don't think the story is bad at all. I like a lot of the acting. I think the people came in and they were really trying to do a good job. But it just washed over me like it was like a 90-minute sleeping pill. Like I couldn't focus on it. I didn't care about what was happening. And I feel really bad about that. But, and you're right, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but that thing about being just okay makes it worse, I think, than if the movie was really shitty or really good. When movies are just okay, it's like the worst insult. And I feel bad saying that too, because I know that the director, whose last name is Latshaw, it might be Stan Latshaw, I know he was really trying to make a good movie. And the things he did technically are pretty impressive considering the amount of money. And with the exception of some of the things you brought out, Linnea Quigley looks beautiful in it. She's stunning. She's really good in it. I wish she was in the movie more. A lot of the women are actually quite beautiful in it. Like I said, it just looks really good. There's nothing wrong with it. So, but at the same time, there's nothing compelling about it either. And so if a movie's not very good, sometimes if the idea is really good, I can latch onto that. I'm all about ideas. If I see like ambition that way, but it's just, I keep saying it. I don't know what else to say, and I feel horrible, but it's just an empty experience. With the exception of the commentary, which is amazing. And I know we'll talk about that in the extras. I did watch that. So I have seen the film in whole now, but I just had a really hard time just like focusing on anything that was happening in the movie. And that said, I guess if you like 90s shot on video kind of stuff, there's worse films out there. And I'm sorry, I feel like I can't add anything to the conversation. So I guess I'll leave it at that. And I'm with a big apology to the Alishans for not having.
How can you not love Jacko?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was shot on video as well. There's parts of it that really look like it's shot on video, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's shot on film.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. So in the 90s, if you go back through like 90s television, that's what I'm going to base everything on. Like film looked really, and so when I say shot on video, I guess I mean direct to video.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't know what they shot it on, but it does have a nice slick quality to it. Like there's ambition behind it, and the director does have talent. There's no heart to it to me. And I hate saying that because his son's in it, and I don't like dissing filmmakers at all, especially when they're working on these kinds of movies, but I don't know. It's just missing something.
Well, I kind of felt the same. I thought the director showed talent. And I thought, he could really have a go at a Friday the 13th sequel or a Halloween sequel if he was given the chance. But, obviously that never came to pass.
Update. We still have no fucking clue where this guy is.
Nathan, I'm sure you have a polar opposite reaction to Jacko than Amanda did.
I love Jacko.
Yes,
I think it's so silly and ridiculous, and it's just, oh my God. Like the toaster scene is hilarious. I also love after she sees her dead husband, she runs back into the house and then leaves the door wide open. But yeah, Jacko is I think it's a fun movie. I mean, I love the characters. I think it's hilarious that we have this big build up to Jacko facing what's her name, Vivian, and as soon as she and him come face to face, he kills her pretty quickly. So I'm like, okay, well, there goes that. It just makes me laugh because the woman, when she gets electrocuted, it's really my favorite scene in the whole movie. I can't stop thinking about it. I love the actual killer in Jacko, and I think the acting is hysterical, particularly the little boy who's the main character. He makes me laugh.
He's like a morphine or something. Like there's no...
Well, actually, there's a good behind-the-scenes story. Apparently, they were filming a lot overnight, and he was sleeping, and his dad would wake him up to act. And so I'm like, that makes sense, because he does seem like he was asleep. But yeah, he when he's getting buried alive, he's like, no. So, but honestly, the best thing about Jacko is the audio commentary on the DVD. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely hysterical, because here's my thoughts. I think that Erik is right in that. I mean, to me, Jacko, I like it, and I like it a lot, but I can see where he's coming from in that it's not quite as over the top as it probably should have been. I think that might make it just a little boring, but thumbs up. That's what I got to say. I mean, I say go check Jacko out. Thank you for picking it, Alice Shans.
Justin, before I hand over to you, Vivian, the character, really reminded me of Anita Dobson, which is a reference that I don't think Amanda and Nathan will get. But
yeah.
What, from EastEnders?
EastEnders.
Yes. Yeah. With that poodle perm.
What are your thoughts on the wonderfulness that is Jacko?
Well, thank you, Katie Doyle. It's like a Eurovision moment, isn't it? We're waiting for Joseph to join us from Tennessee. Well, Jacko is it's not one that I'd seen before, so it had passed me by. Although I think I'd heard its name whispered to me. I'd liked it more than Amanda, but there's not nearly as much as Nathan. I think the main problem with the film is, and the director alludes to this in the commentary, is that it didn't really know whether it was shooting to be a Goosebump kids movie or it was trying to be a kind of, breast and gore TNA show. So it didn't know really what it was trying to be. So I think that's why it feels a little bit flat, because it's not really knowing where the tempo is, what it's aiming for. But some things I took away from it was, the acting is almost troll-esque. When it starts off, I thought, this is going to be really funny, but it never quite, it stutters a bit throughout. I like the witch walking around the neighbourhood. It was Vivian, where the kids just think she's a witch because she's got a poodle perm and dressed in purple, which is interesting. The other takeaways I got from the movie is why do breasts always get so dirty? And Linnea Quigley's shower scene, which was again on the commentary, is hilarious. A commentary between Fred and Olin Ray and the director saying, "Why on earth did I have this hour-long shower scene with Linnea Quigley in my movie?" The one thing I did think was kind of slightly, it was almost we're talking about Amanda seeing sort of knowing that she's going to be talking about this in 1995, was that one thing it had a kind of strange echoes of today was the two kind of right-wing conservatives watching kind of an Alex Jones or some kind of shock jock on TV, and it just seemed almost very like a sort of Trump-esque sort of individuals watching TV. So I quite liked their characters. It was quite sort of, not like them, I thought it was interesting to have those kind of characters, but it did make me wonder why the kind of the right-wing lady, when she saw her dead husband on the lawn, she runs into the house, but doesn't think to actually shut the door. You think in the kind of 101 on slasher movies is when you're running away from the killers, you shut the door behind you, but she doesn't manage that.
Yeah, but this is a woman who manages to electrocute herself with a toaster, so yes. I don't think she's the brainiest.
No, and the other takeaways I had was I like the Halloween attraction with the father of the Sean. There was probably one of the only people in the movie who seemed to actually be trying to act, apart from Linnea Quigley, who was, to be honest, she was coasting it. I mean, she's coasting it on charm alone, which isn't difficult if you're Linnea Quigley. But the father, as the name escapes me at the moment, I thought he was quite good. This is his only movie. But another takeaway was that those kids are really easily scared in the haunted house. And also the other thing is, if I ever need to bury a body, I won't use a scythe to cover them in dirt, because that was going to take about 4 hours to cover that kid. Yeah. Wasn't it? So yeah, it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird mix of kids horror Goosebumps movie with nudity and gore. And I think that was the reason why it didn't go on, due south or due north enough to take it into complete kind of batshit crazy territory. All in all, it's a bit of a shit pickle of an episode. Let's talk a little bit about the background and the commentary for the movie, which. I found if you rather than listen to the whole thing and actually watching the whole of Jacko again, there is a best of the commentary, which is about 10 minutes of the best clips from the commentary.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yes, so I listened to that this morning. So I haven't listened to the whole commentary, but Amanda, what did you think of the commentary? Because the commentary is between Fred Olen Ray, who, if I'm right in thinking, was the producer on this movie, wasn't he?
It's really engaging. It's interesting because it's famous for the shit pickle line, which I guess we should preface. So like towards the end of the commentary, Fred Olen Ray talks about some of the reviews that the film got, and he said some people refer to this as a shit pickle, and so the director's like, you said you wouldn't say that word, and he gets kind of upset about it, and then they have like an argument, and he storms out, and then the director tries to get back into the room to finish the commentary, but he's somehow locked himself out, so you just hear like the door jingling, and then Fred Olen Ray lets him back in, and then a couple minutes go by of like kind of strained conversation, and then they continue, and I can't tell if that's like a meta moment where they purposely implanted that in the film commentary or not. It's hard to tell because when he comes back he seems genuinely upset, but it also is so perfectly like done in terms of comedy that you feel like they might have planned it. It's just hard to know. Their banter is really wonderful. There's like a tension between the two, but they also sort of have admiration for each other, and they also have a lot of really good insight about making these kinds of movies and a really like pitch perfect memory of shooting the film. And so they actually give you a lot of detail about how they shot it, what kind of cameras they used, who the actors are, where they came from. And so it's really, really engaging. Just a piece of trivia, but he's super into TV movies. So he sometimes contacts me and we talk about TV movies. And he asked me to do the liner notes for Snow Beast for him, his Blu-ray release, which I did. And he's just great. But I think it's a really, really good commentary.
Here's the famous shit pickle.
And I, to be honest with you, who the hell else but me, Steve, would be putting this back out? I mean, it's been called a shit pickle in some reviews. It's been, I mean, who else but me? I mean, and at Halloween and with all these extras, I mean, it's hard for it's hard to sit here and say that I don't care how the movie turns out.
We discussed this commentary before we ever got into this, and you specifically stated you would not make any reference to the shit pickle comment.
Well, I never heard that before.
Okay, I know, and you laughed your ass off when you told me. You were laughing when you said shit pickle.
I know, but
as a matter of fact, you said shit pickle more than once. You said that's so funny. Shit pickle, shit pickle. Well, you know what's funny to me?
You're making me laugh.
I'll tell you what, you can sit here and do this fucking commentary yourself.
Oh, come on, Steve. Jesus Christ.
But to me, the way that Fred is laughing there, it just really gives you the vibe that, like, that's just the kind of relationship that they have.
The severed and mutilated head was stamped and postmarked Denver. The owner still has not stepped forward. Update. All of us here are glad that such a terrific human being like Joe has returned. If I were a woman, I'd sure like to be his girlfriend. Walking in the park hand in hand. Wrapping my legs around him. Cuddling in the spoon position. Our hearts beating in unison. Staring into his eyes over our morning coffee. Yes. Yes, thank you.
Here's the story of a lovely lady who fell asleep early from working too hard. His phone fell behind the bed, and he is a lovely lady, by the way. His phone fell behind the bed. He overslept. He wasn't able to get his notes ready, so I have no thoughts on Jacko. I have general thoughts, but just not my full thoughts. Yeah, I like the movie. I think what it does is, well, for one, it's really, really bad. It's so, like, kind of melodramatic and kind of maudlin, but it tries so hard to just kind of be competent at the same time failing at everything else. I love the two, the mother character one, and I think her name's Vivian is the other woman.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is that her name? Yeah. Vivian and Linda, I believe their names are. Linda has the weirdest bug eyes you've ever seen, and they look like they come out of an 80s movie. This feels like an alternate reality, 1995 to me. But yeah, I mean, I just woke up. I'm kind of all over the place. So those are my general thoughts on Jacko. Maybe next time I won't oversleep and drop my phone behind the bed.
Okay, well, just to get you up to speed, myself and Justin were kind of, it's okay for what it is. Amanda wasn't terribly impressed with it, and of course Nathan thinks it's a masterpiece.
It's a bad movie, but I had some fun with it, so there you go.
Okay, well, we just played, I don't know if you heard the clip from the famous shit pickle clip, but that's why I think, Amanda, you were saying about it possibly meta, but of course that's why it struck me that in the film he talks about the foreshadowing of the door not being opened, and then the fact that he alludes, well, he says that the scene where the kid is outside and you think he's been killed by Jacko is, he said it was borrowed from or inspired by Val Lewton's The Leopard Man, which is a fantastic scene in that old 1940s, I think it was, movie. So I thought it was, whether or not that was, it seemed to be almost the fact he couldn't get back into the room was why it kind of tipped the hat to perhaps it was all a bit of a setup. I don't know, but very amusing. The only better commentary that I've ever heard, the funnier commentary, was the one with Doris Wishman on A Night to Dismember, which was...
Yeah, I thought of that when maybe they talked about being that way with each other, but also you feel like that's a natural thing, because at the end of the commentary, the director gets mad again, and Fred Olen Ray's like, we've been friends for years, and he's like, acquaintances, we've been acquaintances. Yes. And so Fred Olen Ray's like, well, fuck you, and then the director's like, well, fuck you too, and then it ends, and you're like, what just happened? But on top of all of that, they still managed to have like a really insightful commentary, and that's what's so amazing about it, is that I wish the commentary was the film, because there's so much energy and passion about it. And the fact that what I love about filmmaker commentaries generally is that their memories of the movies are so good, and because they're so passionate about what they're doing. So he remembered all these things, with the exception of, and I just real quickly, for another great commentary is the George P. Cosmatos commentary for Cobra, when they originally released it, because they didn't give him a moderator, and they sat him down and they're like, okay, George, just go. George P. Cosmatos, who I think was Greek, right? He says, why is the man shooting melons? He's very bad man. And so like that's the commentary for like half of it, and it's amazing. And then he kind of starts to talk about making the film, but this commentary has all these different weird elements to it that make it like one of the most delightful things I've ever heard, and I loved it. I'm sorry, since I have no idea where you guys are, can I just say I do love the scene where the girl, she's dressed in like this jacket that looks like a banana, and she's out in the woods with her boyfriend, and he gets decapitated, and his head rolls right into her lap. I laughed at that scene until I cried. But I don't know if that scene's been mentioned.
I don't recall her jacket looking like a banana. I'll have to go back and see.
No, it's so yellow. It's like a big banana. She looks like a giant banana. And then she's running through the woods, and then the guys in the cherry picker spots her. She has those acid wash jeans they've got holes in them.
Totally ripped.
Yeah, this does not look like 1995 to me. It looks like 1987 or 88. I'm wondering.
The one guy did get his haircut, the father, partway through the film, and the director points that out, and Fred Olen Ray was like, oh my God, his hair is totally different. I never noticed that. And so there is this weird sort of like alternate reality that happens with it in terms of that. But what's funny about the jeans is that the director really had a crush on that actress, and Fred Olen Ray liked her as well. And he was talking about her in the ripped jeans, and he's like, so, she wore these jeans with holes in them, and let's just say I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, jeans with holes in them are sexy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never thought of that. But he really liked them.
I'm wondering if this movie had a continuity editor at all. I don't think it did.
A bit like this podcast.
This podcast is going to need a continuity editor.
I think it's going to be tricky. But talking of, should we do some background before we do the feedback? Or the only reason I was going to say about doing some background was only talking about the when the movie was made, because I did see somewhere it said it was shot in 93 and released in 95. That doesn't quite explain the weird 80s-ness. But of course you've got John Carradine, who I think his scenes were shot in 1985, probably a different movie entirely.
Well, no, what he says on the commentary is that he was filming another project for Fred Olen Ray, a completely different one, and they did it because they had time on their hands. They did another setup and got him to do just some random shots that they said, we can use that in a movie in the future. And that movie ended up being Jacko.
Right. Okay. Which makes sense, doesn't it? So, but also saw they said that they filmed on weekends for the film. So it may explain why it took so long. But yeah. So, do we want to talk any more background, or should we go to Joseph or Nathan? I don't know if you want to duke it out. Okay.
We don't know where we are. Yeah, Amanda, what's your background?
So Dawn Wildsmith, who plays the girl who's in the movies that they're watching on TV that gets her breast felt up by the monster, she used to be married to Fred Olen Ray, which is amazing because they got a lot of content out of her. And that the opening and a lot of the shots of the like creepy garden was shot in James Best's backyard. And James Best, as you know, played Roscoe P. Coltrane on Dukes of Hazzard, right? Yep. And they used his dog in the movie, and his dog was named Roscoe. The director would go on to work with James Best in a movie called Death Masks with Linnea Quigley that came out the year after or something like that, which I've never seen. One of the things that stood out to me was that they talked about they wanted a small monster originally, and they referenced Trilogy of Terror and the Zuni fetish doll. And I think the reason they said that they thought the large monster worked better, but I think that they said that because to do a little monster, they'd have to do a lot of animatronics and puppetry. And I think they were like, forget it. There's no way that that's going to happen. The conservative couple were based on a real couple living in the director's neighborhood. And just two more things briefly. So I did find a review in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and I'll just read a paragraph of it. The reviewer wrote, "You don't really appreciate good acting until you've seen bad acting, and this is pretty bad. Part of the blame lies with Fred Olen Ray, director, producer, and writer." I don't know why they call him director. And how about the ending? After the big confrontation, a bunch of characters walk down the street into the dawn, as one suggests, let's go get some breakfast, which is hilarious because they're not put out by this at all. Who cares about that, about the body in the woods? Pass me a Bloody Mary. So the one or two reviews it got were pretty negative. But what I thought was really interesting about the movie is that it's very much like a movie that came out that same year called Night of the Scarecrow by Jeff Burr. Has anybody here seen that?
A long time ago.
It's kind of the opposite, where they sort of uproot the grave in Night of the Scarecrow, as compared to sort of where he sticks this thing in the hole, which is its own thing, I guess, if you're going to be Freudian about it. But
right.
Yeah, both the movies sort of play out in the same way, and they came out the same year. So in a way, it's like The Burning and Madman, right? Like they're both making the same movie. And one sort of this minimalist sort of viewpoint using the same legend, and the other one is like this much better shot. Although I prefer Madman, to be honest, but much better shot film, which is more in depth or more technically proficient.
Okay. Well, thank you, Amanda. Joseph, as it was your pick, do you have any background?
What? No.
Nathan, do you have any background?
No. Not okay, now. I did have some, but y'all read it already.
I don't think Amanda read this one out, but they mentioned on the commentary that Cameron Mitchell's footage was taken from an unreleased, unfinished film called Terminal Shock, which was a Fred Olen Ray production that was going to be an anthology featuring a selection of short movies linked together, and all the movies were going to be shot by young filmmakers, I think recent graduates or something, but it never got completed, so that's where they got the Cameron Mitchell footage from.
Cool, thank you. I think everything has been read out. The only thing one thing I'll just read out to show the kind of horror lineage of this, or the slasher lineage. There's a fantastic website many of you probably already know, called Vegan Voorhees, which and I just took this from his review of this. So he said Fred Olen Ray directed Scalps and Final Examination. Linear can also be seen in Graduation Day, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Colobos, Spring Break Massacre, and a background cameo in Fatal Games. Brinket Stevens was also a backgrounder in Fatal Games and was also in Slum Party Massacre, American Nightmare 2000, Bleed, Blood Reaper, The Cheerleader Massacre, and Sigma Die. And Cameron Mitchell was in The Toolbox Murders, The Demon, Silent Scream, Trapped Alive, and Valley of Death. So, so quite a horror lineage or slasher lineage to the movie. But otherwise, I think everything else has been said, although I would urge everyone to check out the commentary, and if you want the highlights, then say there's a 10-minute mega mix on YouTube, so check that out. So Joseph, do you want to read out the feedback?
Sure. This is from Facebook. It's Christy Valenti. She says Linnea doesn't deserve that. Also, that dad is way too invested in his haunted garage. Don't look behind you says love, love, love. Killer scarecrows are one of my favorite subgenres. Jake the Snake McCoy says big guilty pleasure of mine. Fun as hell, but the commentary from the director and producer make it 10 times better. Steve Testa says it's a shit pickle. The producer agrees. Mike Alishan says the Alishans are back. Thank you, Mike Alishan.
Did you really say that?
Yeah. He says the Alishans are back, and then his brother Ara, which I think it was Mike who picked this one. His brother Ara says, I suppose it was just a matter of time before our family's legacy was tarnished by Jacko's curse. Gratuitous Linnea Quigley shower scene aside, I'm honestly having a hard time remembering much. On the forums, Mr. Palmer says, you honestly don't want to know what I think, LOL. How can that be? He says, I try not to have thoughts about Jacko. I think I see what he did there. Tuzo Tonic says, in the words of Fred Olen-Ray on the commentary track, you know what he says. Body Boy says, I have no desire to watch it ever again, if that tells you anything. Kodiak Jack says, every time I watch it, I feel like I like the movie a little more, but I can never remember anything about it. Instagram, Shedghoul94 says, really good as a kid, not so good grown up. Blaine Geyser says, absolutely ridiculous. The flashback scenes make me laugh. Linnea does what she does best. The electrocution scene makes me laugh out loud every time I see it. I think the commentary with Fred and Steve Latshaw on YouTube cracks me up. Steve seems a bit touchy about the film. Shit pickle. Jacko looks cool, though, but let's be real. It's pretty bad, but sometimes in a good way. The Big Movie House says, I rented this as a kid and thought it was really good. When I bought the DVD, I realized that my child self was not the greatest critic in the world. The film is really bad, but there are a few things to like, so it isn't a total waste. Lou Toad. I bought it thinking it was Hack-O-Lantern for some reason. I don't even remember it. Got to pull it back out of the stack. Okay. Craig Beauchamp says, my DVD is signed by the director, Steve Latshaw, but I still haven't actually watched the film. As a child who was terribly disappointed by Pumpkinhead when the monster didn't have a jack-o'-lantern for a head, will this movie live up to my childhood dreams?
Yes.
Yeah. Matthew Caldwell 796 says, I have immense love for this movie. Jake Helgren, our friend Jake, says it's a guilty fave. DeBorgie86 says hilarious. And on Twitter, Jacob says, oh boy, horrible but watchable. The commentary is the best part of the DVD because of the argument where the director storms out. And that is all the feedback I have. So
excellent. Well, thank you for commenting on that and giving us feedback. And I shall play This Is How to Get in Contact with the show, and also a trailer for one of our the friends of the show too.
Want to learn more about horror directors? With a lighthearted look at 3 of their movies? Meet fearless podcaster Gore Blimey.
I've been unsettled by bats in the past and startled by parrots, and I've even been known to jump at the odd cockatoo.
Discover horror films that are classics, and others, too.
There's a topless aerobics massacre, an exploding rock singer, cannibals, nude martial arts, a deep-fried prostitute.
But it's not all silliness. You'll get proper movie breakdowns, opinion, and background information, too.
Yep, in the 80s and 90s, Jeff Stryker was huge in gay porn. In every sense.
So if you're a horror film fan, come and check out the Trilogy of Terror podcast at strangeanddeadly.com, or find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on your podcatcher.
One of those people that has a certain charisma and a certain style, and I'm just hoping one day he'll rub off on me.
The Trilogy of Terror podcast, where we try 3 times harder to give you the willies.
All I know is today's October the 31st. 31 backwards is 13. It's Friday, it's Halloween. It's the 13th anniversary of the lawnmower killings. It's a crazy loose. It's prom night.
Hi, this is Tracy Savage, Debbie from Friday the 13th, Part 3. For the best podcast ever on old slasher movies, be sure you find Hysteria Continues. You will be glad you did. And hey, stay out of Crystal Lake, okay?
Every episode, we celebrate a classic slasher movie, such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, and Crazy Fat Ethel 2.
Please don't hurt me, Ethel!
The Hysteria continues, bringing slash with panache since 2011. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all good podcatchers.
You thought I was going to miss an episode, but I've not missed an episode yet, even though I've missed most of this one.
Well, it's going to be, and your punishment, Joseph, is the editing stage.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I'm sure we can fashion. We did think, actually, we could possibly, with all the outtakes, we could do a little Patreon piece as well.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
To show behind the
I'm just wondering
scenes.
what all was said while I was asleep in my comfy bed.
Yes. Well, you'll listen through and you'll find out. But yes, so we might do a little special Patreon sneak behind the dirty curtain of the Hysteria Continues and see what we go through to bring you this show.
We will. I'm going to do it that'll be my penance for showing up late.
Okay.
I'll do the bonus episode.
Okay, excellent. Well, is there anything left to talk about? I'm trying to think.
Joke of the week.
Joke of the week?
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Joke of the week.
Does it involve a shit pickle?
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't miss this.
I know. You are welcome in advance.
I'm gonna disconnect.
My joke of the week. So fantastic.
Where does the pumpkin man go to do his poo-poos? To the Jacko latrine. Jacko latrine. Oh, God. That's hilarious.
That was terrible.
Jacko latrine. Like Jacko latrine. You're giggling back.
I like how everything happens. It's not just the horns or a plane crashing or one-handed clapping or whatever. It's everything.
Everything all the time.
I'm going back to bed. I'm going back to bed. Good night.
I wish I had the presence of mind to have got shit pickle as a little sound clip for that. But anyway,
I'll throw it in somewhere.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you to Amanda for putting yourself through not only Jacko but the podcast from hell episode.
My pleasure.
A podcast that was recorded like Pulp Fiction or Go or one of those type of movies. All out of sequence.
Yes. Well, I do wonder actually, Joseph, whether I just send you the whole file for you to edit down, because I think it's going to be.
Yeah, just do that and I'll have fun with it.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to the Hysteria Continues, and what are we covering next time? Nathan, I believe it is your pick.
It is my pick, and we are going to take a trip to a not-so-deserted island for American Gothic.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, I look forward to haven't seen that since the heady days of VHS back in the late 80s when it first came out. So looking forward to catching up with that one again. And Amanda, I see you've been doing quite a lot of appearances, haven't you, talking about TV movies, which I'm sure has been, they look fantastic. And I just wish I could be on your side of the Atlantic, anywhere near where you are, to come and see some. So have you got anything else planned coming up?
I do. If I could just promote a couple of things real quick. So
yeah, of course.
You mentioned that I have a presentation. I'm hosting this series of films, TV movies at the Alamo Drafthouse. I do it quarterly. I've got one coming up on April 30th. Now, they're mystery movies. I can't tell you what we're showing, but if anybody is in Austin and listening to this and they're curious and they want to catch a TV movie, it's going to be at the South Lamar Alamo at 9:30 p.m. on April 30th, and it's almost, well, it's not almost sold out, but it's like getting there. So check that out. And then I just recently did a commentary for Kino Lorber's release of The Girl Most Likely To, which is a TV movie from 1973, which I'm pretty sure Justin's seen. I'm not sure if anybody else has seen it.
Stockard Channing.
Yeah, it's really good. I did the commentary with Kayla Janice, who wrote House of Psychotic Women and who runs Spectacular Optical, that publishing house, and does a ton of amazing things herself. That was really good, and I'm excited for people to hear it. We had a lot of fun with it. It's a great, great movie. I did the liner notes for a movie from 1970 called Dream No Evil, which is by John Hayes, which is a really wonderful film, and so I'm super excited to be attached to that. And that's, I think, what I have that's happening that has been announced. I don't think I have any more presentations lined up right now, but I was just in LA, which was great. And if you're just listening to this now and you're curious about TV movies, the LA Times did a really great article about TV movies and how they're sort of becoming more popular again. The old ones are gaining interest. And I was interviewed for that article. So you could just Google, I guess, LA Times and TV movies, and you'll probably find it. So I think that's it.
Amanda, I got some like old tapes from like family members that's got a bunch of old, 80s commercials and stuff. And I've been, getting TV spots and stuff for our YouTube channel. I've run across a ton of TV movie trailers. I saw one the other day when I was editing through some of those tapes. I saw one for a movie called First Affair with Melissa Sue Anderson and Joel Higgins. Have you seen that one?
I've been thinking about it because Loretta Swit just joined Twitter, and she stars in it. She plays Joel Higgins' wife. And I saw that movie because I was so hot and heavy for Joel Higgins. I was like 11, and I was like, oh my God, he was the dad on Silver Spoons. And forget Ricky Schroeder. I was all talk about old men. I was super into the dad. And so I watched it. And what was really interesting about the movie was that at the time, I saw myself as the Melissa Sue Anderson character, who's the girl that has the affair. She's in college, and she meets this guy who's married to her professor, and all this stuff happens, and it was so salacious and wonderful. And then it came out on VHS, and I saw it as an adult, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Loretta Swit. You know what I mean? I'm the wife. And so it was interesting to watch from those two perspectives. It's a really, really good movie. And it does have a VHS release, but it has never gone beyond that.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of these old TV spots for these old TV movies. I saw that one, and I saw a couple others. I found a bunch. I found like hundreds of these old TV movie like bumpers and trailers. So if you ever want like copies of them, just let me know. I got them saved. So.
Oh, I do. Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Amanda, for joining us. And, well, hopefully next time you come aboard the good ship, Hysteria Continues, it will be slightly less bumpy. All right. Well, what are we playing out with, Joseph?
I couldn't really find a song, so I found one from 1995 by 311 called Jack-O-Lantern's Weather. So.
Okay, right. Well, we're playing out with that. So thank you for listening to The Hysteria Continues. And we look forward to going to that deserted or semi-deserted island for a bit of American Gothic, a.k.a. Hide and Shriek. Because it was American Gothic, and that's what was released in this country, I think. Anyway, enough of that. We'll see you next time. So say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye, good people.
Bye.
Hello.
Joseph is still showing us offline. Do we think, I wonder if Joseph has overslept?
He might have. What's crazy is we're supposed to be getting some crazy weather, but I don't know if it's gotten here yet. I wonder what the radar says.
Oh, do you reckon he might have blown off?
I called for this.
Oh.
Ew.
Go, Harold, go. You can do it.
Oof, booty.
I did this yesterday with Joe, but I guess it was just the two of us, so he just got on and...
Wow.
Les wouldn't jack over me last night.
You don't like the film, Amanda, no?
I don't know.
Isn't this one that you wanted to be on, Amanda?
No, somebody asked me to be on it.
Oh, okay.
I'm hearing kind of robot-y voices. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, I am now. I am now.
And it's a shit pickle, and the shit pickle continues.
Are you there, Amanda?
We just had loads of problems with Nathan. We called it the Nathan problem, or Nathan issue, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, if you don't mind, if you've got the sleeve, that would be good.
It's going back and forth, but I'll do my best.
Okay.